Karl Dönitz, 1891–1980, was a German admiral who played a key role during World War II, particularly in naval warfare, and briefly served as Hitler's successor. His life and career encapsulate a significant part of Nazi Germany's military history. Here's a summary of his story. Early life and career. Karl Dönitz was born on September 16, 1891, in Grünau, near Berlin, Germany. He joined the Imperial German Navy, Kaiserliche Marine, in 1910 and became a submarine officer during World War I. By the end of the war, he had gained substantial experience in submarine warfare, which would later define his legacy. Rise in the Nazi Navy. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles severely restricted the German military, including the Navy. Dönitz remained in the reconstituted Navy, the Reichsmarine, which later became the Kriegsmarine under Nazi rule. When Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933, Germany began rearming, and the naval forces were expanded, including the development of a new submarine fleet. Dönitz, who had extensive experience in this area, was appointed to lead Germany's U-boat fleet in 1939, the same year World War II began. U-boat commander and Wolfpack's Dönitz pioneered the concept of Wolfpack tactics, where groups of U-boats would hunt Allied convoys together, rather than individually. This tactic was initially highly successful, causing significant damage to Allied shipping during the Battle of the Atlantic. The aim was to cut off supplies to Britain, which depended heavily on imports. At its peak in 1941–42, Dönitz's U-boat fleet was a significant threat to the Allies. However, by mid-1943, Allied technological advancements, including radar, sonar, and breaking the German Enigma code, as well as the use of long-range aircraft and convoy escorts, reduced the effectiveness of U-boats. Hitler's successor. In January 1943, Hitler promoted Dönitz to commander-in-chief of the Kriegsmarine, replacing Admiral Erich Raeder. Dönitz continued to oversee naval operations, but struggled with limited resources as the war began to turn against Germany. As Germany neared defeat in April 1945, Adolf Hitler named Dönitz his successor in his last will. When Hitler committed suicide on April 30, 1945, Dönitz became the president of Germany and led the short-lived Flensburg government. His role was largely symbolic, and his primary responsibility was to negotiate Germany's surrender. The end of World War II. On May 7, 1945, Dönitz authorized General Alfred Jodl to sign the unconditional surrender of Germany to the Allies, which went into effect on May 8, 1945. This marked the official end of World War II in Europe. Dönitz's government, based in Flensburg, was dissolved by the Allies shortly after. Post-war trial and imprisonment. Dönitz was arrested and later tried during the Nuremberg trials for war crimes. While he was acquitted of charges related to crimes against humanity and conspiracy, he was convicted of war crimes related to unrestricted submarine warfare. Dönitz argued that the Allies had engaged in similar tactics, but he was still sentenced to 10 years in prison. He served his sentence at Spandau Prison in Berlin and was released in 1956. Later years and death. After his release, Dönitz lived quietly in Aumühle, a small town near Hamburg. He wrote 2 books, including his memoir, 10 Years and 20 Days, in which he defended his actions during the war. He largely avoided public life and never expressed regret for his role in the Nazi regime. Karl Dönitz died on December 24, 1980, at the age of 89. His legacy remains controversial, especially given his role in prolonging the war and his association with the Nazi regime. But he is often recognized for his military strategy, particularly in submarine warfare. Summary of key roles. Commander of the U-boat fleet. 1939 to 1943, Commander-in-Chief of the Kriegsmarine, 1943 to 1945, President of Nazi Germany, Hitler's successor. May 1st to May 23rd, 1945, Nuremberg trial. Convicted of war crimes, served 10 years in prison. His life highlights the complex nature of military leadership during times of war, and he remains a key figure in discussions about World War II naval strategy.